Hey everyone, it's JD99. Been a hot sec since I made a video, huh? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about my new favorite book series, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and how to apply its elements to Dungeons and Dragons. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Dungeon Crawler Carl is almost like Sword Art Online meets The Hunger Games meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
So in the series, an alien corporation has crushed all of human civilization, and the few survivors are tossed into a televised mega-dungeon to fight for survival against various monsters. Along the way, they build alliances, level up their skills, and receive gifts from sponsors. The goal for them is to survive 18 floors and become the champion, each floor having a different theme. Now, our main guy, Carl, he's something of a mad bomber slash martial artist who never wears pants. And don't worry, there's a good reason why he doesn't wear pants in the books. And he is paired with a talking cat named Princess Donut, who's like this sassy mage. Their relationship, bickering, and care for one another is a massive part of the series. So we have the general concept. Well, how do we turn that into D&D? First, let's think about the setting. Dungeon Crawler Carl, or DCC, can be thought of as something of an isekai, so your players would have characters that start in the quote-unquote real world and that have been tossed into what is effectively a fantasy realm. This part can just be a normal TTRPG stuff. They explore the game world, meet NPCs, and level up their powers. The players would decide if they already know each other in-game, or if the creation of the dungeon tossed them together. You can also let the party have a mentor, and that is just a special NPC who's on their side. Doesn't do any fighting for them, but can be a very good way to get the player's information. In the books, the mentors are a vital way for the characters to survive, but it can also be optional here. I think it can be a very useful way if you want like an organic method to let the players know stuff about the game world. Now, the next thing to think about is that since the characters in-world know that they're in a game, this can allow for an interesting level of metagaming. Translating HP to in-universe health has always been kind of a vague concept, but here they can know exactly how much HP they and other creatures have. Another thing to go for is achievements. This is something I like to do anyway. I think achievements are a lot of fun, but they're a major part of Dungeon Crawler Carl. And, these can be very general achievements, for instance, like fighting your first mob and winning them. Or you can get very specific to mess with your players, like chop down every single tree in the area. Wow, there were squirrels living in those trees. Where are those squirrels supposed to live in now, you jerk? And these achievements can then result in loot boxes. Depending on the nature of the achievement, this could range from anything from a few torches to up to the hammer of thunderbolts or something like that. In book, they follow a metal system of bronze, silver, gold, etc. And also in the books, they can only be opened up in designated safe rooms, but I think for Dungeons & Dragons purposes, that could be translated as saying that they can only be opened during a short or long rest. I think that fits better with the pace of gameplay. So you might be thinking now, okay, so it's all dungeon. Is it just traps and monsters and such? No. A dungeon can contain whole cities if you want it to. In DCC, some floors are basically entire realms, various villages and castles spread across a landscape. Sometimes people are just there, existing on their own terms and minding their own business. This is something I also just try to do in general in my game worlds for dungeons. Dungeons are living things with their own ecology. And these game floors with the massive dungeons, they can be anything from icy tundras to magma caves to even moon bases. Go crazy with it and have fun. So, what do you get when you have NPCs living in settlements? That's right, you have quests. I assume if you've watched this long, you know what a quest is in a role-playing game. We won't spend too long here. Get a MacGuffin and bring it back, go slay a monster, help someone get from point A to point B. Maybe even figure out who's committing a series of crimes. You get the picture, pretty straightforward stuff. Now, as mentioned above, a major part of the story is that this is a televised game show. People from all over the universe are watching. What does this mean for your players? Well, it gives you a way to reward them for doing things with style. For this, we can come up with a rating system. Every time the players do something particularly good, go out of their way to help someone, defeat a boss in creative fashion, even deliver an awesome one-liner, they get rating points. And then at various rating thresholds, they get better loot boxes. Maybe you have it so that once every 3 in-game days they get a box, and their current rating determines the box's rarity, and therefore what rewards they get. Now, the living game system within the books has its own rules for casting spells. It has an unlimited inventory, and there's certain potion limitations. We won't really be getting into that. The point here is to apply Dungeon Crawler Carl to Dungeons and Dragons, not bend Dungeons and Dragons into becoming Dungeon Crawler Carl. So that's the general rundown from the DM side. From the player side, race and class selection can mostly be normal. In the books, class and race aren't chosen until later on in the dungeon, the 3rd floor if we want to be specific, but for us, we can stay with it being chosen when they first enter the dungeon. For backgrounds and who the characters were before entering the dungeon, well, that can still be a lot of fun, and if you want to make sure that they're, fitting into the current 21st century setting that we have going on in the real world, I actually do have a few videos talking about quote-unquote modern D&D. Now, let's talk about some different party configurations. Perhaps you were a group in the army together. Maybe one of you was a chef, another a medic, an infantryman, and an engineer, all tossed together. So you have different skill sets that can each help you in the fight for survival within this dungeon, and you also probably have whatever equipment you were using when you got cast in. Maybe you're all professors at a different university, your field of studying affecting which classes you choose. Get it? Professors, classes, study, it's kind of a pun. I'm hilarious. Now, speaking of the different kinds of people in the dungeon, you won't be the only ones in there. Millions of crawlers are cast into the mega dungeon, so every so often you can have them run to other groups. And yes, there is the option for them to fight each other, but they probably want to avoid that if they can. Maybe they trade resources or something. Or perhaps they team up together to fight a particularly strong boss. And due to the way that this kind of setting works, this could be a great way to explore all new character options. See, you don't have to worry necessarily about setting limitations for various races and classes. Go crazy with it. You want to be a singing frog or an Aarakocra? Go right ahead. And for various class options, I did make a new subclass inspired by Dungeon Crawler Carl. I call it the Demolitionist Artificer, also known as the Compensated Anarchist. And yes, that title is a reference to the book. These are artificers who specialize in the art of making and the using of explosives. At level 1, they get basic firebomber techniques where they can throw bombs or place them as traps. At higher levels, they're able to make better bombs, and then eventually they get resistance and immunity to fire damage, can easily make gunpowder, things like that. I like the concept of this subclass, but I'm not super sure how well it works out. It may be a bit underpowered. It's a one-trick pony, and so it really needs to be able to do that trick well. And I just don't know if it does yet. So go ahead and put your thoughts for that in the comments below.
Oh, you mean this pie? I was saving it in my pocket for us to share. Let's eat. Oops.
And this subclass, as well as those background classes that I mentioned before, these are all going to be included in a compendium book that I put together. It's just all the various homebrew material I've come up with this channel over the years, and I hope it's a good resource. So anyway, I think that's where we're going to call this video. It's been a lot of fun to make this and get back into it. I highly recommend Dungeon Crawler Carl, especially the audiobook. It's a real experience. You can find it through Audible or Soundbooth. So what do you all think? Are you a fan of DCC? Put your comments about this and general lit RPG format things in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and until next time, have a great day and God bless.